Married at First Sight, season 14, episode 5. This is for Mark and Lindsay. See down in the description box for links to my other videos. This is for Mark and Lindsay only. But every time I start the video, I give you my update on where I stand. I ain't changed. I ain't changed. I don't like Lindsay. Didn't like her from the beginning. Still don't like her. She doing the same old things. Lying, changing stories, dishing shit out, but can't take it. Okay, she still got that sharp, nasty tongue. She's still calling people names. Same old Lindsay. I know there are a lot of Lindsay fans out here. I don't know how the hell people still like Lindsay, because you know what? She's not a nice person. She really isn't. So it starts off with Lindsay talking about how their chemistry is undeniable, and she's all into Mark and all this other kind of stuff. Mark ain't into her. Mark has seen enough. Mark knows the real deal. At this point in this episode, you're starting to really see Mark put his foot down, and Mark's starting to say, you know what? None of this is worth it. She's not worth it. So they get ready to go down to the pool or, for the day's activities and, get drinks. And so Mark says, hey, maybe today we shouldn't have so much to drink. And he basically ends up telling us a story that on the plane, when Lindsay acted a fool, she ended up having 3 bottles of wine. So we hear a little bit more about that. She was stone cold drunk. That was why the flight attendants, everybody had to get involved. So on this episode, they're going to be going on a boat ride, and Mark is trying to wrangle the cats, wrangle Lindsay, say, hey, listen, maybe we shouldn't have so much to drink. That's a bad sign when you already have to manage your wife and you only 4 days into the marriage. And you know what I don't like about Lindsay? She's always talking about people. She talks about everyone. She's talked about Alyssa on this show. She's talked about Katina. She's talked about her husband. She's talked about every ex-boyfriend she's had. Remember I told you she said she was with jabronis. Now she starts talking about the fact that she used to date a lot of engineers and that engineers are liars, cheaters, and stealers. You know what? She has something negative to say about everybody. Her own mother, but she thinks she's the best thing since sliced bread. Get over it, Lindsay. No, you're not. She starts talking about her husband, off camera, talking about, I need to class up my husband because he's a Guido. Girl, why do you think you have class? You are the most crass person. You're burping at a wedding. You say all these foul things. You do all these foul things. You're drunk on a plane. A flight attendants have to settle you down, and you're going to call your husband a Guido and say he's unsophisticated and you need to class him up? Please, what kind of class are you going to infuse in him? Because you don't have no class yourself. Mark starts talking about how, he's triggered by Lindsay with her drinking. And she says, well, it sounds like you were a people pleaser. No shit, Sherlock, because anybody else would not have been dealing with you. You got to be a people pleaser to be still dealing with you, Lindsay. You better be glad he's a people pleaser, because an ordinary person, they would already be out. They would not be putting up with this foolishness. You would have been cussed out a long time ago. And he's telling her, hey, you know what? Maybe you ought to just tone it down. Don't push people's buttons. He's still trying to settle her down. And she's like, oh, this is what I love about him. This and that, he's so calming to me and all these different things. You know what? What Lindsay likes to do is she likes to start shit. And then when the water gets too hot and the heat gets too hot in the kitchen, she likes to run back to Mark at the comfort of his arms so she can feel safe and secure. I already peeped her out. This is what she likes to do. So later on in the episode, they go on this boat ride, and that's where the epic read happens. Basically, they start going over the incident in the airport and on the plane on the way to the honeymoon. And, Katina starts going in on her. And you can look at my Katina Lajuan video, see real detail on it. But basically, Katina said, you 35 years old. You're not 2, 3, or 4. And you know what? This behavior you have, you need to get over it, because then you like to poke people. And then you want to be able to claim the victim and you want to start crying. Then Lindsay's talking, oh, you're so rude. You're so rude. Katina's like, I don't care if I'm rude. You're manipulative. And, of course, Lindsay is darn near in tears because, of course, she feels so attacked by Katina. I'm sure she thinks she's the victim. And then we find out after this, Lindsay is so shook by it. She runs over to Mark, and she just wants to be comforted by Mark. It's the same story. Every time Lindsay starts shit, after it gets too hot, she runs back to Mark, and then she wants Mark to clean up all the mess she started. But Mark's not here for it. He's not here for it right now. He's starting to treat her a little differently. So, supposedly they had this romantic dinner planned after the whole boat ride, and on the romantic dinner, You know, Mark starts talking about some of her behavior that he doesn't like, and he starts saying, hey, you know, maybe we ought to take it slow. And when he said that, you know what, Lindsay's antennas went up. You know what? She's heard it before. She's heard another man tell her, we need to slow this down, because the minute you start really understanding who Lindsay is, everybody's going to put on the brakes. Everybody's going to downshift. They're going to downshift fast. They're going to put on the brakes. Because this is some crazy stuff, and nobody wants to go fast and hot and heavy with a woman like this. So now Lindsay's talking about, oh, she's so confused. Why all of a sudden now you want to put on the brakes? Because if you want to pull on the brakes, I can pull back. I can pull all the way back. Pull all the way back, Lindsay. Who cares? Pull all the way back. That's actually what we want. Pull it all the way back. That ain't no threat. That's a promise. Promise me you're going to pull all the way back. I really hope you do. So sure enough, when she gets hurt, when her feelings got hurt by Mark by saying he was going to pull back, there goes that vicious tongue. She unleashes it. She starts saying, if you want to pull back, then maybe you ought to stop farting. Maybe you ought to stop clogging up the toilet. Girl, she goes right in on him. She takes out that knife and starts stabbing him in the heart as much as she can. The minute he told her she wanted to pull back and she wasn't going to get what she wanted, you know what? Pull out the knife. Let me just stab him to death. That's how she is. She is vicious. Just like her father said, you don't want her as an enemy because she's a warrior. She's a fighter. And sure enough, she's about to murder this man. Murder him with her tongue. So we find out later on, and even in the after party, they talked about a little bit more. We find out that she and Mark definitely consummate the marriage. Not only have they consummated the marriage once, they've consummated it several times. So one of the reasons why she was so upset when Mark was trying to pull it back and say, hey, we need to slow this down, was because she felt, hey, we've been doing it, sexing up 2 and 3 and 4 times a day, and now you want to pull back? So maybe she's feeling a little used. But you know what? After that's still in the boat, of course he wants to pull it back. He said, this is not ending. Every time there's a new opportunity to have a fresh start, here goes Lindsay getting into another altercation with someone else. And Mark is saying he's done with it. He's tired with it. At this point in time, he might need to catch a flight with Alyssa, because I know Alyssa ain't going to stick around. He might need to say, hey, is there an empty seat next to you on the plane? And we both can get the hell up out of here. So anyway, Lindsay's just upset. She starts calling him a stupid idiot and all this other kind of stuff, basically saying, you know, he can go take a walk. She wants to take a walk. These two are done. These two are a wrap. This ain't going nowhere.